Hey everyone, Temporal here, and for this session we are taking a look at Arkesu here. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong. We've reviewed them before on Anna, and we're going to see how the Moira goes. Those of you that are regular viewers of the channel may notice that Val is in this game as well on her signature Mercy there. Okay, so let's take a look under some Bronze Moira gameplay, see what we can do to help make that better. We can go for an early damage orb here. Okay. Let's at least hide until it's time. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do drop a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Hey, Arkesu, how you doing? And Magdalena, and Celeste is hoping for some flank Moira. Okay. Okay. Didn't get anything out of that. We'll deal. Is that going to mess up your timing? No, you should still barely have the timing if you throw it right now. Okay, you see that there's a diva, so you decide not to throw it right now. No. No. We do not throw the damage orb right now when it would be right into a diva. That's not going to work for us. There's a diva right here. Damage orbs don't get thrown at divas. Not unless you're trying to do something fancy where you're baiting the DM to, as you're baiting the DM, like, I'm going to bait the DM and we're also going to throw in a grab, or, you know, something more impactful that you're trying to put the DM on lockdown. And that's not going to happen in this game. So let's not do that. When we notice there's a diva there, we either throw the damage orb at individual isolated people, flankers, people in off angles, things like that, or we just accept that we're going to have to throw healing orbs on our team, and that's going to be more efficient than throwing a damage orb that should get eaten pretty early. That said, this is bronze. Maybe it's not going to get eaten that early. Duo runs a small. This is a duo, I believe. It was a 3-stack with the Ashe player. Okay, so the Ashe was in it as well. Got it.
Time to delash.
Put in Pilgrim's best choice right after Lucio. At least we'll harden the Orisa. Can you imagine that fortified healed Orisa there? Okay, so that's a lot of healing that we've done here. So here we are. We're at full resource, and this was 15 seconds ago. Now we heal this. Perfect. We're healing it a little bit. There's a shift going on. I'm not actually worried about their health. I like putting a little bit of heal onto them, but our Sigma is shifting right now. Our Orisa messed up the barrier, and that's going to be our problem, but our Sigma is shifting right now and protecting both of them. So we want to heal them up behind the shift, but there's no, like, huge pressing need to, like, just fire hose heals into them. Little bit of healing right now is fine. Okay, this is too much. Because remember, the way Moira's heal works is she applies a base heal, like she's got a base heal, and then she's got a hot that does more healing. So like heal, and then squiggly heal. Base heal, hot that goes over time here. And every time, if you're just fire hosing down the heal, this just gets replaced with more base heal, with more base heal. And then the squiggly goes, but gets replaced with more base heal. And then the squiggly goes, but gets replaced with more base heal. So like, the only hot that you get is when you stop base healing them, or when you take your base heal off them for long enough. And given that they're not in much danger right now, because Sigma is got his hands out, Sigma is using his hands, and neither of them are like, you know, at 10% HP or anything, we actually want to go a lot lighter on the healing right here. This should be like puff stop, you know, tiny bit of healing, stop, tiny bit of healing, stop. You can be like tiny bit of healing, stop for a second, another tiny bit of healing, to be getting some of your hot value, to let this regen a little bit more, and to just not spend as much of it while getting the same amount of healing. Spray simulator. This is an actual poke comp? I mean, it's got a Hanzo, an Ashe, an Orisa, a Sigma, a Mercy. It's a poke comp, yeah. The support version of Spray and Pray. Kinda. Hey, Block. Hey, Carolina. And Gamebuster. Crew's all here. Okay, so she's fine. She's behind a barrier. Yes, that barrier is going to break, but let the hot do a little bit of your work. You see how you're already 20 seconds into the match, and we weren't healing for the first 10 seconds, and they were rotating for the first 10 seconds? We're already down to 40%, 45% resource, and we're only at 16% healing done. That doesn't work. You don't get to fire hose heal people until someone is in your teammate's face, would be a general rule. Like, obviously, this team is never going to totally get in your face. These are poke heroes. This is a poke hero. But This is a poke hero. But, like, you can't just, like, fire hose heal it when they have bears down, when they have Sigma hands absorbing damage, because you need your resource to hold out longer than this. You can fire hose heal if they're really taking the damage to warrant it, and like, this is it, this is the clash, this is the mid-fight, but this isn't really the mid-fight. Yes, you're playing poke v poke, so there won't be a mid-fight mostly until one team has already won, but, like, this is just so heavy on the heal spend right here, and it's going to make you play without resource for so long. Okay, stop. The Sarissa isn't in significant danger. No, no, no. Okay, that's a lot of resource that we've spent. We're down to like 20% resource, and now we're going to have to get aggressive. And again, this is one of those things where we could have used a healing orb if we wanted, and also not spent some of that resource. We did not need to spend this much resource. We absolutely could have gone lighter on the heals and let the hot do work, but we also could have just healing orbed our tanks because, wait, there's two tanks that both need help that are standing right next to each other, and I don't want to damage orb the team with the diva. A very new Moira. No problem, no problem. It almost feels wrong to not full heal, need to work on it more. Totally fine. But yes, with her, you puff heal sort of in the poke phase, like little bit of heal stop, little bit of heal stop, little bit of heal stop, to let that hot sort of roll. And then in the brawl phase, like if the diva is in your Orissa's face, you're just like, oh, you're in my Orissa's face, let me just hold left click on my Orissa, that sort of thing. That's how you want to think about it. And once you get better, you'll even do a little less holding then, and you'll go, I'll let the hot roll for just a moment while I put 30 damage onto the Genji, and then go back to rolling the hot, and then another 15 damage on the Genji, and that sort of thing. But we'll get there. We'll get there. If you think of it for now as hot in the poke phase and fire hose in the brawl phase, you'll do okay. Still not liking the orb, and you see that immediately gets eaten. That immediately gets eaten, and now we don't have our orb, and we're at like 30% resource. So now we've got nothing that we could heal with. No, no, no. Now you're healing at full health. Good. So you probably did want to actually bounce this a little more craftily. Sending it straight through was potentially okay, but if you could angle yourself slightly to the right and then throw the orb like that, where it's going to bounce a little on its way out, then it's going to be contained longer. This is potentially going to matter less after the change that's on the experimental notes, where the orb is going to slow down even slower when it's healing or hurting people, but at least for now, and really in general, you want to think, even if it's just for an instant of, can I change the ricochet angle so that it stays contained in the area for a bit longer? Because it's really easy to send an orb through, have it not have fully healed the person that you're working on, and then have it be, well, did she eat it? She might have. Oh no, there it is. That's still a good half an orb left there. That orb still has half of its healing power. Now everyone's full health, so it doesn't really matter in this case. But I would have liked to contain this a little bit. Double shields even in bronze. Hot heal, quick hot heal. So this is what we're talking about, where we're going like this, and you're sort of in this is like basically a brawl phase, and you know, that doesn't mean we're going to fire hose, because there's no need to fire hose. Your team is doing okay, but I do see Orisa is missing enough health to justify healing her. I'm not going to just hold down left click on her, but I'm going to tap left click to give her a little bit of the base heal plus the hot, and then I'm going to go right back to right clicking, because she's not in real danger. She's not in real danger, and you want to do damage right now. You want to get resource back. You've gotten your resource back pretty well, but like, those are okay things, wanting to get your resource back and wanting to do damage, but be getting some value, be letting that hot roll. So you're just like, damage, flip, or as we'd put it here, it would be like, here's our hand, here's our hand, here's our hand, here's our hand, we're Spider-Manning it, and flip. Here's some heal, here's some heal, here's, you know, or rather like, not here's some heal, here's some heal, here's some heal. It's here's some damage, here's some damage, here's some damage. Here's a spigot of heal. Here's some damage, here's some damage. Here's another spigot of heal. And it's just like, just little taps of heal until someone's actually swinging on your Orisa, in your Orissa's face, or your Orissa's health goes lower, at which point you could fire hose it back up to like here, and then swap back to, okay, damage, tiny bit of heal, damage, tiny bit of heal. You'll maintain resource in the brawl phase better like that. Moira is more complex than expected. Yeah, and if you get in her positioning, it's meaningful too. We can talk about it. We haven't talked about her positioning, her ult. We haven't talked about much yet besides her resource use. This is good, though, that we're using our tanks as our protection to... Right-clicking through your tanks like this is good.
Your body decays.
Walking through our tanks is not. Okay. This Orisa is way too weak for you to have not been healing her. And now you're going to spend time going like this? Okay. I mean, I don't know that I wanted to fade here. And if I did, I definitely didn't want to drop. Do I healing more?
This will heal you.
A little bit of heal, and now I'd turn and look for the Genji again, because you were actually one of the best people in your team for dealing with the Genji, as long as it doesn't distract you too much from healing the front line, because you can damage him, his deflect, you're like, I don't care about your deflect. You can damage him, you've got a little bit of an auto lock to deal with the movement, and the players at this SR are mostly going to struggle to hit Genji. As you go up into Diamond, Masters, GM, they really won't, and they'll go, yeah, Genji, whatever, Tracer's harder to hit, but at this SR, people are more going to struggle to hit Genji, and the bit of auto lock that Moira has helps a lot, as does her going, deflect, what's that? Yeah, it sounds like it's you. I think my audio is fine. Good. So here we are. Okay. I can live with it. Your team's being passive here, which is sad, but usually when you're coalescing like that, you're either trying to target an enemy squishy that's a good 1.5 plus from cover that you think you can eliminate, or you're going to do it to enable your tanks. And when you enable your tanks, you're going to hurt the enemy team's tanks. I don't really think that was... Maybe that was supposed to be to enable your tanks, but your tanks were just like, no, we're going to be passive. So you went, fine, I'll break the enemy tanks because they're weak. Usually the enemy tanks aren't really your target. The enemy tanks are a happy side effect of you enabling your tanks, but that's okay.
Get into position.
No, this is pretty high bronze if memory serves. And the SR of this game is probably even higher because we have a triple stack here, and I don't know this person's SR. I don't know exactly what Val's SR is right now, but it's not bronze. Yeah, so this could easily be a silver game, but the Moira themselves is pretty high bronze. Okay, so did we just fade onto the point here? Here you are. Okay, so I totally get it. You're scared about the point here.
This was the
you guys are fine.
Conclusion.
They got a tick. That's annoying. You could be concerned that, hey, every bit of percentage they get now matters and is real. You really can't concern yourself that much about it. You just have to believe that you guys are going to be able to fully cap first on your attack. Like, you want to believe that rather than beeline yourself to point when you still have this tank alive who should be able to touch before the second tick locks in. The progress doesn't matter. The ticks sort of matter, but really it's the cap that matters. And you would absolutely just feed yourself onto point to stop the cap from happening, but with this Orisa alive and healthy and all that, I don't really want you throwing yourself into danger. I definitely don't want you fading into danger, because you've used your defensive cooldown, your fade, to aggressively go onto the point. And if this was part of a 6-man comp, a Talon dive, where everyone was going in, including you with your movement ability, that would be one thing. But you've now put yourself in the danger zone with your defensive cooldown. You've put yourself in the danger zone by using your defensive cooldown here. That's kind of the last thing we want to do. We might walk into here and be like, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to do damage, I'm going to be aggressive, but it's okay because I have my fade to leave. We can't use our fade to go into danger like this unless the whole team is going into danger, like it's a coordinated effort type thing, which this is not. You're ahead of your Orisa. No one wants Orisa in danger. She's high ground artillery. I love it. I love it. It spreads so much. It's wrong. It's wrong. So yeah, Orisa actually can, do some okay damage from the high ground, but in this situation, we absolutely are putting a tank on the point, and it's probably going to be Orisa. She's going to anchor this point better than any of our other options. Certainly better than our Moira. And now we're in trouble. There's literally nothing we can do to control whether we live or get eliminated right now. We don't have our orb, we don't have our fade, we don't have cover. There's nothing we can do. Well, it turns out there's one thing we can do. We can take one step backwards and be safe. But we don't really know that. We think our nearest cover is over here or all the way over here. So this isn't amazing. Okay. That damage orb is fine. Let Orisa spend their health, sure. I know it's hard. I know this is hard. This isn't going to seem fair. I'm going to be saying mechanic better, but I am going to say mechanic better here. Genji just used dash. He just used dash, do a 180. It's possible that he dashed and he's standing inside your hitbox because he dashed into the ground. They'll do that sort of thing, and then he'll jump and he'll be on top of your head. It's possible, but he just dashed straight through you-ish. So immediately do a 180. Orisa's fine. She's over half health. She has a shield in front of her. You want to get damage on Genji. That's one of the best things you can do right now. And you don't want Genji to get damage on you for free. How do you stop that? Well, you do damage to him. So turn and look for him right now. Instant 180. Instant 180. Instant 180.
This will improve your condition.
We took too long. And this just needs to be a trained reflex of like, oh, Genji dashed. I 180. Oh, Genji dashed through me? I 180. The truth is, Genji's like to, if I'm looking this way, let's use Orisa as an example. No, we can use you as an example. We can go and look and see what actually happened. Genji dashes, and then if you do a 180, you'll immediately find him. Genji is almost certainly about to relocate to sort of over one of your shoulders, either over here or over here. It's where Genjis hang out. It's what they do. They're pretty predictable, especially at this rank. But immediately 180, and you'll either find him or you'll be very close to him, and then you'll just have to guess which sort of direction you turn and look slightly up in as you do there if you're not quite in time. But that's okay. You just need to train that reflex. The same way tracers train being able to blink 180, like that's a pretty basic maneuver that they train and they can just hit 180s, and McCree's just practice going, I can hit 180s. Okay, I'm on floaty mouse because I'm in spectator mode right now, but they just train, I can do perfect 180s, which clearly I cannot in spectator mode. That sucks. The same way they train that, that's something that you just, A, should be able to do on every hero, but on Moira, Genjis are going to dash through you, same as they will on Ana, and you're going to want to turn and be able to acquire them as quickly as possible, which means the 180 should be a practiced motion for you.
This will improve your condition.
Batman Moira jumps into action, highway to the danger zone. I like it, I like it. Good, healing orb. No, we're not following this far. So conceptually, going, I want to put pressure on Genji is good, but as soon as this Sigma barrier goes away, I got to think about cover again. I got to think about, wait, there's a Sigma on my screen who could shoot at me. I could go over here and work on Moira. That's an option. I could go out here to cover. That would be an option. I'm probably just going to go back and help work on this Moira, to be perfectly honest. But alternatively, you could tuck over here, tuck over here. You can't really stay here. Yeah, you're just counting on them not hitting shots. There we go. This is better. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. If we were going to healing orb, let's contain it a little. Let's bounce it around over here. Boom, boom, boom. This sort of thing. Like, ooh, I like that. I don't need to fade in. You might fade in if you were sure you could finish something off and you'd survive yourself. And you might think, oh, I'm sure we're going to finish Sigma, but is this getting you a Sigma elimination that you wouldn't otherwise have? Or is this you pushing Soldier? I'm certainly not fading in to push Soldier because I didn't see any spam damage hit him. If I'd seen a rocket hit him, if I'd saw there was an arrow sticking out of his chest, maybe I fade in and go finish him. But I don't see anything that can justify my going in to try to finish him right now. I also don't have a damage orb as I'm diving him here. Maybe you're diving the Sigma, which is a little more okay, but I sort of look at it and go, I don't think the Sigma's going to get away anyways, so, and there's a soldier right here, so can't really justify it. Okay. Sure would be nice to have not faded into a soldier that had visor. Climbing a support is really hard. Okay, Gambuster.
Swiftly. My will made real.
Okay. Sure. Stop. That's way more healing than you need. So you needed healing, but especially against these squishy heroes, it's just like a little puff of heal is plenty, and then do a second little puff of healing, and they'll be at full health before you know it.
Time the delay.
It's good. Don't. It's Diva.
A welcome improvement.
Yeah.
Moving behind my barrier. Stop right there. Observe the barrier.
I don't trust this Orisa barrier as much as you seem to. Like, oh yeah, this is cool. This is a cool Orisa barrier here. It's already cracked. I might just chill over here. I can reach her if I need to. I can help her if I need to. But I also have the option to off-angle a little bit if they push her to apply damage. If they push me, I can just walk my way back here. Like, I don't know that I'm going to trust this barrier, because when this barrier breaks, I've got nowhere to go. That orb was better. Again, I would have bounced it a little more to try to keep it contained, but that was okay. Good, heal. And stop healing, he's fine. Yeah. Just too much in danger. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. You need some health first, which will come from your orb. Don't stand here. Yeah, you're trusting this Orisa barrier too much. Oh, yeah. So the reason I was saying don't do it was because you had 3 health earlier. You now are popping this when you've got like 56 health. Well, you have more health than that, but you're actively under fire. And you can try to use your Orisa more as a barrier. You can try to do that. That's okay. But the reality is Orisa, like Reinhardt, is not permanent cover. They're just not. You can think of teammates' barriers as temporary cover, untrustworthy cover. You can think of their bodies as sometimes your best option, but untrustworthy cover. Real cover is way, way better, and you can work from here. You can heal these guys from here if you want. You can try to right-click from here. If you go, but I can't reach with right-clicks from here. Congratulations, you couldn't reach with right-clicks from here either, so you were stepping in front of your barrier. Like, this is just better. Real cover is better than this fake stuff, these barriers and stuff. Okay. Oh, they're using the Mercy Moira combination. The Coalescence damage boosted. It's okay. You'll get them back with yours later. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Sure. That damage orb costs you nothing. I'm fine with it. That's a lot of value. Jeez. I mean, it's not real value. It's not going to eliminate anyone. It's not putting them under real pressure. They'll healed up for free, but, like, I'm surprised you even got the ult charge. Sure. Fire Hoser, you're correct. And you stopped for just a moment there once she was safe. Fine. And she's just taking too much damage. And that's fine. And now you just leave. You leave. Tuck right. No, he's handsing.
I will rebuild you.
Sigma's throwing hands. Okay.
I cast this forth.
We're not going to do that. We are not going to throw a damage orb at a team that has Diva when our resource is down here. Because our resource is so low that any healing issues we have are probably going to need to be covered with a healing orb to allow us to continue to regain resources, rather than thrown into a Diva that does need help. You could, maybe if this was an enemy Widow up here, not maybe, if this was an enemy Widow up here, you could throw a damage orb at them. That would be fine. But I'm not throwing a damage orb at the Diva core. That's not happening. And obviously this is your Widow.
My servants never die.
I need to recharge.
Okay. Sure. Heal just a touch. So this is what we're talking about, where you want to look for opportunities, where this is good. That's more than we need on him, but it's fine. This is fine. We're doing our right-click stuff, and let's just get a tick of healing going on Orisa. Let's just throw left-click on Orisa just to get that hot going, and then we can give ourselves 1 to 2 seconds to do right-click damage, even if it's just to a shield, again, before we refresh our hot on Orisa. She'll get a little more direct healing and a little bit more hot healing. Like, this is how we want to do it. We can absolutely maximize our value, where we go, hey, I do a tiny bit of direct healing, during which I can't do right-click damage. I get some hot healing for 1 to 2 seconds while I'm doing right-click damage to the shield, over here to the Moira, that would be my preference, whatever, which is regaining me resources, costing me less resources, putting damage pressure on the team, and slowly healing my team. It's the best of all your options. Like, oh, there's so many things you get if you sort of go into a bit of an alternate type phase here when the fight isn't in that much pressure on you. Tim Portal is on fire today. That was a great explanation on hot. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Val. Thank you. Okay, so this is unfortunate because now you're in this situation where I get it. You want to put as much pressure as you can on this Mercy, and I'm actually good with staying on the Mercy. But imagine if your Orisa had even just a little bit more health right now. If your Orisa had even a little bit more health right now, they'd have survived long enough for you to go back to healing them. And they should have had a little bit more health right now, because you should have healed them up a little bit more. And you're about to lose an Orisa that has safety. This Orisa has Supercharger. We don't want to lose an Orisa that has Supercharger. Ugh. You're a tank man, but love the sport VODs? Thank you, Scott Free. I'm glad you're enjoying them. Mm-hmm.
Regenerating your cellular structure.
I don't want to force this. I don't need to force this myself.
My will made real.
Cool, I have a Hanzo. Great, let's let him tank. He can have Mercy Beam, Moira healing. Great, totally fine with me. Let's just heal him. Heal him.
Regenerating your cellular
Cool.
structure.
He's retreating. He's retreating. When he could be a meat shield for you, I was maybe good with sort of being like, he'll sort of mostly give me cover. They can shoot around him, but he'll mostly give me cover while I heal him and right-click through him and that sort of thing. I'm not walking in now that he's left. I've got no interest in being here. Now I'm much more interested in letting Hanzo throw a Sonic Arrow back here and Sigma just bounce shots back here, and these guys go, oh, wait a second, we're staggering. I'm good with that plan. I don't want to be in here. This is giving them a chance to trade an elimination back.
Tell me how this feels.
If you're in front of your whole team, you can't see who on your team needs real healing or needs to have a hot rolled on them. So this doesn't work for me. I wanted the Hanzo in front of you.
I will not be denied.
Oh, and Scott Free, you had some nice comments there on the collegiate videos I saw. Glad people are enjoying those. I think we're going to do more stuff covering the collegiate scene. That's an orb. It hurts. Yep. Good response with the healing orb. Okay. No. That damage orb isn't going to work for us. So I see this. Supercharge is annoying. That soldier's long gone. Soldier has sprint. If you saw Soldier trying to hold this position, you could send an orb at him. Because if he stays and tries to do damage, it'll hurt him. And if he doesn't stay to try to do damage, well, then he's leaving, and he's not hurting you guys while he's not there. But you can't send an orb at him down here because he just gets out through way too fast, uses a projectile. Doesn't really make sense. That said, you could, if you wanted, fade yourself over here and go, hey, am I going to try to take out Soldier with Coalescence? There's an option. You could have faded over here, thrown a damage orb and coalescenced yourself and taken out the Soldier. And as you've done that, tried to then come over here for a little bit more damage. That's actually what a higher level Moira player would have done in this situation, and then said, hey, I've got an angle to try to deal with the Supercharger after they've soloed the Soldier. That's really sort of what you would have done, what a higher level player would have done, but I get it. I don't expect Moiras to instantly get to, oh, this is the solution to this fight right now. Not a big deal, though.
Surrender to my will.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to
Allow me.
react to this like this. Okay. So you're trying to... Who's your target with this? When you use Coalescent, you've actually got to have a target in mind. And obviously, if you'd gone over here and been like, oh, wait, they have Visor, and they start visoring you, that's fine. You leave, and then you just contribute down over here, which is a very likely outcome. But that's okay. What we're looking at here, because then they're visoring in a room that's empty, which you're okay with. So we look at this and go, hey, I don't really like it. It's a problem. We're going to coalescence to get out of this situation. But who are we coalescing for?
Surrender to
Are we
my
coalescing
will.
for our Orisa? Okay.
Me.
I'm good with coalescing for our Orisa. And if we got some Moira value there, we're getting some other people value. Wait, why are we not still on Orisa? Why are we now on Soldier? Okay, I'm glad that worked out, but usually when we coalescent something, we're pretty darn determined to stay on that target until either it's eliminated or what. Now, I suppose Orisa was fully healed by the time you got off her, and she refuses to get aggressive with your coalescences, and the Soldier was in terrible position. Yeah, we'll let that one go.
My keen
Every Moira VOD is a meme about failed expectation. I mean, isn't every VOD? In general, not just Moira? Oh boy, I don't want to fight this directly. No. I have no reason to believe that I'm going to beat Soldier in a 1v1 here. I have no reason to believe that. He does more damage than you. You're just counting on him having bad aim. Putting pressure on him when he's on off angles with damage orbs absolutely makes sense. Having a little bit of cover and putting a little pressure on him just to keep him at bay a little while your team deals with another angle, fine. But I don't actually expect to win duels with Soldier here unless I have things like Coalescence available to me. You don't want to just count on enemies not hitting shots. And that's what you're... That's Healing Beam! Or Healing Spray.
predictable.
Okay, with the double support of Mercy and Supercharger, I suppose we're going to beat that one, even with our healing mistake. Okay, walk at him. And this would have been fine to fade out. This would have been fine to fade out because it's one of those things where, yes, you are going to get the elimination if you fade. No one else can eliminate him right now, and we don't want to risk him getting out, and there's very little risk to you if you fade right now.
This is my will.
Heal just to flex? Okay. Just lower your expectations. There we go. We're fine. Sure. This is a little tough because you're sort of having to play from here because you're a poke comp. And there's not a ton you can do. I don't like that one. The D.Va's right there, and they're getting closer now than they could if they won't be here before. Okay. Your team should walk. They won't. I don't want to open the angle this hard. Okay, whatever. Sure. Cool. I'm right-clicking the Fortified Orisa, so I'm doing almost no damage, but I'm getting some resource back, and I'm doing a little bit of damage. Why am I in the middle of the lane? Where Junkrat spam is. I had this pillar that I could hurt Orisa through. I could even step over here and hurt Orisa from here. But either way, I have cover if I'm playing around this pillar. But you're just like, no, I'm going to walk into the middle of this lane, the middle of this bridge, this walkway that's being spammed by Junkrat, by Orisa. That seems like a good idea. And now my cover is further away. And if I take damage, I'm going to have to use my own fade, as opposed to just taking one step to the left. Or just taking one step to the right. That would be wrong.
60 seconds.
That was I thought I was in comp saying fight, you win this. Okay. I mean, yeah. I'd have let someone else handle it, truth be told. I'd have let a greater number of people handle it and just help with the elimination rather than forcing it there. But hey, we did have the Supercharger plus Mercy boost. Okay, good. Oh, we have a super chat coming in from Stone Monkey 84 for $4.99. Another Moira review. I have some time to watch. Awesome. Happy you've got some time to watch this one, Stone Monkey. If you have any questions, certainly throw them up in chat. And I appreciate that super chat for $4.99. Finish off the Moira. You've got full resource. You had full resource. Why are we spending resource? Like, here you are. You're at full resource. Your team is at full health. You finish this brilliantly. And you're like, let me just spray. Why are we dragging across the empty open to check if other people need healing? Like, no one actually needed healing. We want to look before we heal, not heal before we look. Oh, no. Okay. At least that'll tick back in time, but it hurts a little. Now it's not gonna tick back in time anymore because this is the third time you healed over there. At full resource when no one had taken damage, you healed here when no one had taken damage. And now you just healed again in response to a halt, but there was a barrier. No one actually took damage. I actually least mind the reactive heal of the halt because you just expect damage to come in there, and that's a decently good reflex to train. If your team gets caught in a halt, but like... Oh, my team got caught in a halt. Let me just throw a hot at them while they're grouped. They're grouped for my cleave heal. They're expected to take damage. That's reasonable. But, like, this is 3 times in a row that you've just thrown out heals. And you could have gotten away with the first one and been fine. But if you keep this up, you are not going to be near full resource when the fight starts. So you got to clamp down on this habit. You have to actually see with your eyeballs that people are missing health before you heal them.
Victory is imminent.
No. I'm glad it was a short burst of healing, just a little puff of heals. It's way too much healing. We're down to half resource, and our team's taken maybe 100 points of damage in the last, like, 20 seconds. That doesn't make sense.
10 seconds remaining.
The power of
That's still a diva that we're throwing a damage orb at.
me.
Fortunately, they're fine. A single tiny little tap here, if anything. No, it's so much. It's so much healing. You are gonna coalescence this now.
Surrender to my will.
Who? Yes, I want you to coalescence it, but I want you to open the angle before you coalescence. So they're walking at you. Boom. Coalescence on their mercy. You got this. You got this. Coalescence from here on their mercy, or if you wanted to get hyper aggressive, you could actually do a little bit of a, hey, I'm going to fade over here type thing and coalescence on their mercy. But like, we coalescence, they're committed to this push right now. They're in overtime. If their mercy leaves, they're going to lose their Orisa. Like, we're good with this.
Surrender to my will.
Oh, well.
No one.
Okay, so... we'll definitely hone in on some important things here. Our resource spending is a bit of a problem. We're spending too much of it. We're also healing people who are full health. We're throwing damage orbs at divas too often. We could clean up our coalescences. And we need to have a little bit of more awareness of what real cover is versus, hey, this is a barrier. Barriers are cool, but they're not real. They're not strictly a figment of your imagination, but they're not good permanent cover. The infinite health pillar is better cover than the 600 HP Orisa barrier that can break at 600 damage and could also go away if she places another one. Yeah. And then we've got a little bit of, more positioning stuff of, hey, why are you the first one on point? Why are you going in front of your tanks to do this damage, in front of your Hanzo to do this damage? Healing through your tanks works pretty well. Healing through someone works pretty well, because you can put the hot on them, you can see their health, you can do damage through them, and they're sort of your body shield, and you can keep them alive because you can heal them, much more so than you can yourself. But that's okay. Let's continue into round 2 here.
That hammer doesn't look so heavy.
I mean, to do heal orb, you meant to do heal orb, then damage spray. Got it. So you got a little mixed up there. Okay.
Hello.
Salut.
A moment to enjoy.
Jump 5 seconds.
5,
Cool.
4, 3,
Now you have a Reinhardt. I like it. I like it.
attackers in
Ryan Zarya. It's a little more up your alley. Okay. Don't go first. Don't go first. Don't go first. Plenty of healing. Plenty of healing. Too much. Second burst was too much. Okay. Another touch of healing on Ryan. Just a touch. Just a touch. Too much. Good. Better. Little better. We could have had the length of those bursts of heals cut in half, and we still would have gotten full hot value. Like, even just an instant of healing gives you full hot value, and you're definitely doing more than 1 to 2 ticks of healing there, so you're consuming, like, 2, 3, 4 4 separate hots. If you think of every instant of healing you apply as potentially generating its own hot, and then you're replacing the hot every time you do another real tick of healing, you effectively consumed 3 or 4 ticks worth of hots there that you didn't really need to give up. Your Rhine wasn't really in danger. Your other person, even though they were squishy, weren't really in danger there. You wanted the hot going, sure, but you can let it do its work. As long as they're full health roughly by the time they get here. Speaking of which, put a fresh hot on Rhine. I don't want to bounce a damage orb there. Ew. If I was going to send a damage orb, I was going to send it in here, not in here. I could choose a healing orb in here, or I could send a damage orb out to bounce through these guys, but I don't want my damage orb here. Good. Okay. Cool. Heal, 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 heal. Stop. Too much healing, too much healing. Okay.
This forth. I will rebuild you.
It's too much. So again, every tick of real healing is producing its own hot, and you're overriding the hot constantly here. There's just no need. She could be healed to full with 2 taps of the heal button. 2 taps of the heal button, that's it. That would consume basically 0 resource. Not kidding. Your resource is really chugging down when you're holding the button down there. You could be, you could be at a good 70% resource right now while still having a full health Widow. I don't need you leading the charge here. I really don't. Yeah, let her... Because remember, if you're in front, you can't see if people behind you need healing. You can't use people as body shields to right-click through. We don't like it. That's not to say that you can be like super, super far in your backline. Your ranges don't allow for it, but you do need to, be in a place where you can see your teammates.
This is my will. I require
Okay.
assistance.
You need to rotate while they're rotating. Bastion's going to be a problem otherwise. Okay.
Flows from you.
Okay, this is going to be a coalescence. Coalescence. Coalescence.
My will made real.
Let the dragon consume you.
You all in for this. You all in and you win here.
Power
Where's our ult? Ult!
Your power
Ult!
is mine. It's been veiled.
Healing orb? Now healing orb? Heal Rhine. Stop. Stop. Too much.
this
Okay.
objective must be ours.
Turn around and coalesce. 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 Okay. Sure. Yep, you can fight him right through bubble. That's fine. Okay. Nice win, nice offense. We don't need to talk too much about that. There's mistakes there, obviously, in your positioning. You like going ahead of your team a little too much here. You were too slow to pull out the coalescence when just like it's a fast charging ult. If you win that fight at all, you win the point. You get it because you only needed a tick. That was what we wanted to do. But our defense was clearly the bigger thing for us to talk about. There was more game time there, more tape there. And what we want to do in terms of upgrading your gameplay is going to be a few things. The first thing really is going to be resource management, because if you properly understand this resource management, it's going to be easier to get some of these other things right. I know I harp a lot on resource management for Moiras, and the reason I do is because it leads to other things. If you understand how the hot works, that there is a hot applied when you heal someone, and you go, hey, I don't want to drain myself a ton on resource. I have a fire hose phase and a hot phase, a little puff of healing phase. It's going to work well for you. In that poke phase, unless people get super weak, you're going to just go little puff of healing there, little puff of healing there. The reason you're doing this is in the poke phase, you frequently don't have anyone that you can go, with your right click and get resource back off of, but also in the poke phase, people shouldn't consistently be taking huge bursts of damage. They should be able to go bind cover if they want to. There should be barriers in play, that sort of thing. So like, do that, get that right. In the brawl phase, then you're going to need to fire hose heal people a little bit harder, like Reinhardt's, like Orisa, that are just taking damage. Reinhardt's lowering his shield while he's swinging, for example, but he has to do that. He has to get swings in, so he's going to need some real healing going into him. But you're also going to go, hey, if he needs real healing, but moderate real healing, not like total fire hoser who's going to get eliminated, I can mix in right click. So I can go, here's my healing with left click, healing with left click. We'll do this. Healing with left click, healing with left click, great, through him, and then, okay, he's stabilizing for a moment, or he's stable for a second, let me just get a tick or two of right-click damage in here, and just a tick or two of right-click damage, which will get me a little bit of resource back before I go back to at least applying a little bit of yellow to get that hot rolling again. Like, in the middle of combat, that's something I'm interested in. If you're doing these things, you're going to find you're not at 16% ult charge when you're down to 20% resource, because that happened to you on defense, and that's a problem. It effectively means a hero that is meant to really provide her value to the battle in the actual brawl phase. Moira is not meant to supply her value in the poke phase. Is not going to have, like, the only value you're going to be able to provide is some damage over here, which is not very impressive damage, plus, okay, well, 20% healing. You have to be able to provide your value during the brawl. You have to have the ability to fire hose. You won't always need it, but you have to have the ability to fire hose or ult during the brawl phase to get your value as a hero in a team setting. In an individual setting, you get some of your value from not being vulnerable to flankers, from putting some pressure on flankers, things like that. But like, for your hero to work, you have to have value that you can just dish out during the actual brawl when the fight gets into its mid-fight, into the cleanup type phase, that sort of thing. So you have to have resource for that to work, and that means hot heal early. It also does mean when you're in the brawl phase, absolutely if you have to fire hose, but when you see openings, when people really aren't under that much pressure, damage through them. Damage either with cover, without a little bit of an off angle, or if you're having to stand behind their person because that's the best cover, do your right click through them to get damage on the enemy. And then even if you're Reinhardt, your Orisa, whatever, is totally stable at half health, after they've stopped getting healed by the hot, because it's been a good 2 seconds that you've been right clicking, reapply your left click, even if it's just to reapply the hot, just, one little tap of it, and then go back to it. So that is the first thing, getting this resource stuff down. Again, I know I harp on resource management a lot for Moira. It is pretty darn important, and now we'll move on to your next topic. But get this one right first. Like, get this right, put your main focus energy onto working on this, and then you can work on your next topic here. But this is your first topic. Get this down, working specifically on this with 5 to 15% of your brain power while playing Moira. Then we get into our next topic, which is going to flow from this, which is going to be, hey, we can get better positioning. We can look at you and go, hey, we can have good positioning. We don't need to run in front of our Hanzo. We don't need to be first on the point. We want to be as Moira in situations and in positions where we can go, hey, we can apply a bit of right-click damage. We can also heal our tank. We would like to be in most situations like things like this, where I can turn and heal my tank. I can click and apply right-click damage. Heal my tank, apply right-click damage. Off-angling slightly, you can't be way behind your tank. If your Orisa's here, you can't really just permanently hang out here or permanently hang out here like an Ana or a Zen might and be like, aha, I'm behind. This isn't actual an Ana or Zen position, but it's sort of for this map, but it's sort of like conceptually what they sort of look like in terms of behind. You can't really go far behind your tanks as Moira because you have to be close enough to heal them, and you don't have enough range like an Ana or Zen does with their damage moves on the opponent. So you have to hang out a little more. Okay, I'm more parallel, or I'm just behind my tank type thing. Not so close that a Reinhardt swing will hit my Reinhardt and me, but I'm sort of behind my Orisa, behind my Reinhardt, or I'm sort of up to the side here where I've got cover. That's sort of what your positioning is going to look like as Moira. You are not going to all hands on deck, jump on the point. You're not going to fade into a soldier that you can go fight. You're not going to stand in the middle of the point to try to do 12 more damage with your right click. Your right click is not very high damage. We like that it puts a little bit of pressure on squishies. We like that it recovers resources. We aren't going to risk our own life to get it off, though. To be like, yes, I did 30 more damage to the barrier. I don't care. Use your cute little angle over here. Stay tight on your cover. This sort of thing is good. This sort of thing is fine. That's what we're looking at. Do not fade into danger unless it's part of a coordinated dive type thing. So first thing, work on your resources there. Second thing, work on your positioning. You should either be using people in front of you as meat shields, or you should have physical cover that is parallel to or just behind your front line, that sort of thing, to sort of make your ranges work for your abilities. There's definitely more places we could go from here, but I don't want to overwhelm you. I think just focusing on your resources will be enough of a task, and you can certainly get more value out of that. But if you work on your resources, and then after that you work on your positioning in this way I'm talking about, of either have someone between you and the opponents that you can use as a meat shield, or even better, have cover, but have cover at a distance that you can still interact or will be able to interact as the opponents approach, that's what we're looking to do. If you or anyone else has questions, throw them up in chat. If you're enjoying the content, please do drop a like, consider subscribing if you have not done so already, and do feel free to join our Discord, where you can see what my coaching rates look like. You can see what sort of events we have going on, like our internal scrim. Sometimes we do internal scrims team. Sometimes we do six stacking on the ladder at different ranks, that sort of thing. And we also do a lot of, you can see what videos, what streams we're doing. Are we reviewing someone's guide? Are we reviewing someone's tier list? Are we catching up on the news in video gaming, maybe outside of video gaming? Are we talking about the collegiate scene? All sorts of good stuff. And if it's interesting to you, you can be there for that discussion if you join the Discord. Okay. Okay, let's take a look. Puff the Magic Dragon. Okay. In the last fight, I told the Moira on comms to coal through your tank when they hop back up, so Val contributed towards the slow coal. Okay. I've been telling this Moira player that fire coal through your tanks is a good idea. Do damage while healing tank with coal. So sort of. So the way coal actually works, I'm going to correct this right now. Gamebuster could tell you guys, but the way coal actually works is when you're using coalescence, you've sort of got two goals. And I wasn't going to make this one of the things to teach you from this VOD, but it probably would have been number 3 if I was willing to do 3. Elim, squish. We either activate coalescence when there's a squishy on our screen that is a good 1.5, 2, or even more than 2 seconds from cover that we're pretty confident we can eliminate. And we can make this happen by fading onto an angle, throwing an orb, and pulling out coalescence. But if there's a squishy on our screen that is like more than 1.5 seconds from cover that we think we can eliminate before they would get to cover, that's an excellent time to pop coalescence sort of as the fight is beginning, in the poke phase, in the brawl phase, as the fight is converting. If we can find, hey, there's a squishy in the fight, more than 1.5 seconds from cover, relatively even fight, I want to use this, and I'm just going to hard follow that squishy until they're eliminated, or I absolutely cannot follow them. I'm not going to break off trying to eliminate that squishy, because I would only be hurting the squishy, and there's 6 people I could cleave over here for a mix of damage and healing. I'm going to stay on that squishy and try to eliminate them. Extra people that I get, fantastic. Will I adjust my aim slightly so that I'm cleaving more people if I can do so while staying on the squishy? I absolutely will. That is a thing that we will do, but this is our priority for using coalescence. The second way we use coalescence is to enable our tanks. We pick a tank that we want to support, and we use it on them either when they are in the enemy's face or when enemies are in their face. And preferably other tank enemies or enemies that are going to be hard to move away. We're not really going to coalescence our tank necessarily when there's a Genji in our tank's face or a Tracer in our tank's face who's immediately going to be able to leave. And with this one, we're likely to get a lot of cleave. We are likely, if we are coalescing our Reinhardt, to also get their Reinhardt, to also get their Diva, to maybe get their Anna, to get some nice cleave damage, to maybe also get our Zarya, to get some nice cleave heals. But our priority is keeping the beam on whatever tank we're enabling so they can go stupid aggressive, so they can just play, so they can go, and swing at things or shoot things with their fusion cannon or whatever the case may be. And we expect to get more cleave while doing that. And again, we will adjust our aim so that we're getting more cleave. But our priority is to stick on the target that we picked. And if you, by the way, start with this sort of thing and you do eliminate your squishy, you're frequently not going to be able to get a second and third squishy, so you'll probably have to downshift to this. You can try to go get a second or third squishy, but you generally then downshift what's left of your coalescence onto supporting a tank. So that's actually how you use coalescence, and getting coalescence right is a big part of Moira. It's one of her easier carry tools. It's sort of how she exerts the most influence over the game in a way that's a little different than the other supports. It's how she can have some initiation power, aggression power, whatever you want to call it, some team fight swing power. So yeah, that's how you use it. And again, you don't jump around targets a ton. You pick your target and you stick to them. You don't go, oh, I've got to have maximum cleave at all times. I don't care. Cleave is a nice added secondary bonus. You're actually picking your target and staying on them. Are you trying to increase the cleave while staying on that target? Yes, but you stay on your target. Just going, I did 900 points of value isn't good enough. I don't care how many points of value, how much cleave you did, how much total healing and damage you did. I care, did you eliminate someone? Or did you allow your tank to eliminate someone? Or did you allow your tank to get their ult, which they're then going to eliminate people with? Better to heal through tank in a tank v tank brawl or grab that support pick? Better to get the support pick most of the time. Yeah. And then downshifting to tank enabling. Right. You would generally go for the support pick if it's an option, and then downshift to, or a DPS pick. Like any squishy is fine, really. Obviously, you're not going to go after a squishy like a May or a Reaper who has an invulnerability cooldown available. But yeah, anyone eliminating an Ashe, eliminating a McCree, a Hanzo, a Soldier, those are perfectly fine too. Specifically for Cole. Yep. I would like to hear the response to Stone Monkey's question too. I'm guessing heal through the tank is only good if tank is aggressive enough. It's not that it's only good if tank is aggressive enough, though yes, you shouldn't really be using Coalescence before your front lines have met very often, unless you see an assassination that you can go get. For the Mercy Spray, what is the actual effective distance? I assume it's roughly the same as Mercy's Yellow Beam non-ult range. We'll pull it up. I mean, I'll answer that question by pulling up the wiki, because distances don't really mean anything to me as numbers, but we can get the answer. So here we are. This one is, give me just a second. That's the damage. What's our actual Bandit Grasp? Healing 70 per second. What's our range? Max range 15 meters, which is 15 meters relative to the damage is 24 meters here, or excuse me, is 20 meters. So the damage is about quarter, it's a third longer, depending on how you want to calculate that. So this, we go 15 meters, damage is 20 meters, just as a example there. In terms of how does it actually work, well, we've shown it with or we haven't shown it here necessarily with simulators, but we know from simulators that it isn't actually really a mist. It's basically shooting like a bunch of orbs. It's basically shooting a bunch of projectiles. It's not really a mist. Now, those projectiles can hit a bunch of people. You're sending a lot of projectiles out per moment, but that's fine. Oh, we can compare it to Mercy's beam range. Sure. That's a effective way, actually, to tell people the range, I suppose. It's not going to be perfect comparing it to Mercy's beam range, because Mercy's beam range is a bit misleading in that Mercy's beam has the property of it'll stick to people even after they go behind cover or leave range. It'll just do that for a moment, which is a bit of a thing there. So let's go to this. But her standard range is 15 meters. So same range, but Mercy's beam will lie to you and go a little bit further than 15 meters, and that you can drag it past 15 meters for a moment, and it won't immediately break. It'll continue to do its thing. It'll break pretty quickly, but it won't break instantly when you do that. So you might not have the perfect, or most people don't actually have a perfect grasp of what her range is. Not most people. Some people don't have a perfect grasp of what her range is because they don't understand it sort of stretches for a moment, much like Winston's Tesla cannon stretches for a moment. Small thing, but shouldn't we use our orb before ulting? A couple times we had orb, but started ulting without using it. Last fight example, since it basically comes up during ult. Yes. I didn't want to get super, super hard into his ult, and sometimes the angles are a question. But the reality is I'd wanted him to ult seconds earlier on that last ult. You may remember that ult, I was going ult for a good 4 to 6 seconds before that, so it wasn't necessarily available that whole time. But yes, if you have your orb available, generally what you are actually going to do is you're going to go, hey, I'm either going to ult to get value here. Frequently, I'm going to throw a damage orb in there so that I can get my elimination, because we don't expect people to be forever away from cover, so I can get my elimination with a little bit more damage there, a little bit more chaos. D.Va can still change things, but on a more open map, it would be very common to go, I'm going to fade over. Like if we were here, it would be very common to go, hey, we're here. I'm going to try to get myself at an angle, and I'm going to, we just don't have a great place to do it, but getting yourself a little bit of an angle with your fade. So you fade, damage orb, coalescence, that's pretty common, and your team is shooting from back here, and now it compromises their cover a bit. That would be a very common thing to do, because you'll also get your fade back effectively during your coalescence. It's almost always to get that orb up better. It's almost always better to get that orb up before Cole. I can only imagine it's better Cole with orb, without orb, if it's purely to save an out of position tank. Basically, yeah. The reality is, no, I'm not necessarily going to wait for my next orb. If my next orb is 3 seconds away and a squishy made a positioning mistake that I can punish with coalescence right now, I'm going to punish them with coalescence right now, rather than wait for my next orb and be like, well, I need to get my perfect orb, then coalescence. No, if my orb is still on cooldown and the opening is right now, I'm taking the opening. I don't care that much. But you are correct in that if our orb is available, we would like to throw it out there, because much like a Winston shield, we're basically going to get it back during primal, so we just drop it before we primal if we have it, even if it's not the greatest drop in the world. That said, usually that's not how it works. Usually you actually intended to use it before the primal because you turned a real deep dive into a primal dive when you needed it, that sort of thing. Is Cole a better fight initiator or mid-fight winner? If I can pressure a DPS out of position early, is that better than getting a pick later? So, it's a good opening ult. It's fine mid-fight, totally fine mid-fight if the fight is still balanced, but it's a good opening mid-fight ult, but you want to use it as an opener really right as your front lines meet. You don't really want to use it when your front lines are far away, because you want its cleave value, you want to be getting damage plus healing out of it. Yes, you are going to be sticking to a squishy and trying to eliminate them in a lot of situations, but you would like your tanks and such to accidentally get some value out of that. And you don't want them to be able to kite you easy. So you would like it sort of right as the teams have initiated. You're not going to pre-do it super, super early like you might have with old Rally. You're going to do this. If I were to go with timing, it can work pretty well as an initiator, but it would come in later than a window. Window could also be used as initiation ult, and frequently is. It would be used later than window is, but pretty early in a fight. That said, if you're late in a fight, it's a 5v5, a 4v4, a 5v4, whatever, and you go, hey, people on resources, and this is when my coalescence came up, absolutely pop it. Especially in that first fight, second fight, when it's the first ult on the board, just pop it basically as soon as you get it, if it's at all makes sense to do so. But yes, it can be a mostly opener ult, but it needs to be an opener as the front lines have met sort of thing. This is why we get coaching. It's okay. It's okay. I obviously know this a little better than you, Val. This is kind of what I do. There's a reason I do this. It's totally fine. You were trying to help. Trace down Tracer with Cole or Lucio. Sometimes Lucio. Tracer's a tricky one. How does the Moira compare to Anna, and how much SR is it worth if he can fix most of his weaknesses? I mean, if you could fix resource management and positioning, and then also went and fixed Cole, like if you actually fixed those things infinitely perfectly and made those things perfect, that would easily be enough to go, hey, this can be gold or plat Moira. The reality is I'm not seeing quite fast enough mouse movement, quite fast enough reaction time to some things like a Genji diving through you to go much higher than, say, plat without really training those things and getting a little faster at reacting to some things. But if we're asking, hey, if we get coalescence use perfect, we get resource use perfect, and we get positioning perfect, oh well, yeah, that can definitely take you quite far. The reality is I do not expect all those to get perfect from one session of working on them. I also do not expect all those things to be super quickly implemented. Work on the resources, work on the resources, work on the resource management, then move on to your positioning, and you'll be in good shape. And what can you actually get off of these things easily? I mean, you can pretty easily push into mid-silver, low gold with just a couple fixes here. Moira has she's pretty easy to play and to get work out of. Not easy to play. She's easy to get work out of in the lower ranks. She can do pretty well, especially once you get to the point where you're using her ult decisively. But then it gets a little tougher past plat. That said, we're not expecting to go to plat after this review here, though if you do, that would be awesome. Sometimes that Lucio has to get eliminated. I agree, Stone Monkey. You'll notice I said probably not Tracer. I'm good with the Lucio. You want to take that Lucio off the wall? Go for it. Yep, once his cannon will stretch a little bit as well. Temporal, you wish Cole would be the first ult up in the game. After the Cole nerf, you get it like 5 seconds after window. It's terrible. I mean, you do get it, well, sort of. Window is also very, very frequently the first ult up in the game. I agree. Those are two of the first ults that come up in the game, but if you have a Moira, you probably don't also have a BAP. And if you have a Moira and a BAP, you're fighting a little bit over resources, and neither of you are probably first. If you have a Moira and they have a BAP, unfortunately, yeah, they're quite possibly going to get window first, especially if they're weaving well. Wait, you won't get from bronze to plat overnight after a temporal review? Not always. Not always. Okay. If you guys have any final questions, throw them up in chat. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do drop a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't done so. Looks like you guys have been good on the likes today. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. And I think if I don't see any other questions, we'll go ahead and call this one here. Yeah, that's going to do it. Thanks, guys. Temporal out.